Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Peter Thiel is one of the co-founders of Palantir, and Peter Thiel is one of the most iconic investors and entrepreneurs of all time. Peter Thiel has also talked about Palantir in various different moments over the course of the past decade, but in very secretive ways, because Palantir was not a public company until 2020. They had to keep a lot of things hush-hush. They were being subsidized by the CIA and the federal government, so there wasn't that much they could publicly say, but there were tidbits of moments in which Peter Thiel and Alex Karp were able to give interviews and able to give some insights into Silicon Valley's most secretive technology company, even though now it's not in Silicon Valley anymore. I found an interview from September 16, 2014, which was on Bloomberg's Quick Take YouTube channel. So it's only a minute 50 long video. It's about a 2-minute video that we're going to react to, in which Peter Thiel is talking about Palantir's ability to likely have thwarted or stopped a terrorist attack. Now, before we get into the video, we know that Palantir has been working with the government for a long time. And we also know that one of the main reasons that Palantir was used by the government back in 2010, 2011, when they really started implementing Gotham, which is the governmental software throughout the fabric of the DoD, was that Gotham and Palantir software was actually able to produce results. So for example, it's rumored that Palantir was able to play a role in finding Osama bin Laden. Now, did that happen? We don't know, but we knew that Palantir was working with the Obama administration, and we knew that in 2011 or 2010, when they were able to catch Osama bin Laden, they had to do a lot of pattern recognition to actually pinpoint the exact location where he was, and there had to be some level of software and technology and elementary artificial intelligence in 2011, even if it wasn't as advanced as it is right now, to be able to figure that out, right? They didn't just pick a map or just find some satellite that found bin Laden. They had to do a lot of complex data analysis. So there's a good chance that was with Palantir. And second of all, they were able to find Bernie Madoff with Palantir as well. I did a video on that a while back. And the governmental agent that was giving a quote to an article that was doing the analysis on Bernie Madoff said that Palantir's technology was even better than the internal $2.3 billion piece of software that the government themselves had created. Again, spending $2.3 billion to create this complex data analytics software to produce results. Palantir's was a cheaper alternative, which is why they ultimately started shifting to Palantir. So we know the government has a long-standing history and working with Palantir, and we know that Palantir has been able to create really, really effective results when working with the government in terms of actually getting them to find different things like terrorists and stop those things from happening. Additionally, we know that Palantir works with ICE, and they were contracted by the Obama administration initially to work with ICE, and they were actually able to find a person who killed an ICE agent. That was the initial reason Palantir even started working with the Division of Homeland Securities, which was with ICE, to actually apprehend that person who ended up killing one of those agents. So Palantir has a long-standing history with the government. This video goes a little bit deeper into Peter Thiel's kind of hesitant explanation of maybe Palantir actually stopped a terrorist attack. Let's get into it.
Offensive to take down the Islamic State and terror threats rising in Europe, Australia, and potentially right here in the United States. Could technology be the key to stopping the next major attack? PayPal co-founder and venture capitalist Peter Thiel, the co-founder of another company called Palantir, certainly thinks so. I spoke with Thiel about the technology behind Palantir and whether it could help stop the next 9/11. Take a listen. Do you think that Palantir could stop the next 9/11, or has it already?
Something like Palantir is the key to stopping major terrorist attacks. I don't think we're going to do it by projecting military force throughout the world. I think we will do it by sort of very cleverly uncovering these conspiracies before they come together.
Now, the point Peter is making there is the point Alex Karp made, which is that Palantir was created in response to 9/11, right? A lot of the creation of Palantir was that, look, there are governmental agencies like the FBI and the CIA that are not able to share data with each other, but that still have to cross-communicate with each other. So there's certain data that is confidential to each of those agencies. They can't be shared, but there's other forms of data that do need to be cross-communicated in order for pattern recognition to happen, in order to figure out if something is happening, if there is a terrorist attack that is occurring. So you need a very sophisticated piece of technology that can centralize all that data, exchange that data in a mutually beneficial symbiotic way, but protect the data that is not supposed to be shared, because some stuff from the CIA is not supposed to go to the FBI. So that's why Thiel is talking about, look, there has to be some type of technology that is going to do it, and we're the only ones that have really created it, but it's not going to be monitoring things that are going around the world. It's using artificial intelligence and advanced simulation models to figure out if a terrorist attack could potentially happen.
Some have expressed concern that your clients could actually use Palantir to do evil things. Do you worry about that?
There's always a two-edged part to these technologies. Technologies are never intrinsically good. There's always a question how they can be used or abused. I do think there are a lot of checks in place in Palantir.
Someone described it as it's kind of like plugging into the matrix.
One government agency that gave us a bunch of data, and during the demo we discovered a terrorist plot that they had not even suspected existed, and it led them to conclude they had to reclassify all sorts of data as classified.
So would you say that Palantir has helped thwart multiple terrorist plots?
I suspect that's true.
Okay, now that's pretty cool. There's three things I want to analyze that Peter was able to say there. Number one, he says, look, technologies can be used or abused. So it's like you can't just clarify one technology is automatically being bad. It's a question of how that technology can be used. And this is one of the things about Palantir that's different, which is like, yes, our technology can be abused, but A, we have a very pristine focus on civil liberties. That's kind of like the core mission of Palantir. They even have an engineering team that's dedicated to protecting civil liberties. B, we don't work with countries that have dictatorial and authoritarian regimes that could use this type of technology and this type of software to create massive human rights violations or do really, really bad things in the world. It's kind of like the major part of Palantir's mission, which even reduces their total addressable market, because if you can't work with China and Russia, there's a lot of companies and governmental agencies that's like hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue that you're choosing from a missions perspective to not work with. So that's sort of Thiel's argument, which is like, look, technologies can be used or abused. We've created a technology and we're working with these particular allies that we hope is not going to abuse them. So then when she says it's kind of like plugging into the matrix, this is also a really interesting point, because Thiel brings up this example, and I didn't even know about this before I watched this, which is that they were doing a demo for a governmental agency, and the demo was probably trying to sell them the product, right? So this was a sales pitch. Probably not the United States. It was more likely some other Western government that they were trying to sell the product to. And during the demo, they integrated all the data that this government had not classified. They put it into the simulation, probably Palantir's Gotham software, and they were able to come up with a predictive model that said, hey, you guys might be not looking carefully at this data, there might be a terrorist attack happening in XYZ region. And that government then had to reclassify that data, because obviously that data becomes a lot more confidential if that data is potentially leading to a terrorist attack. And now the government has to sort of rethink their strategy in terms of what they're going to do with that data, how they're going to understand that data, and how they're going to optimize that data. So already, I mean, that gives you a lot of understandings of what this software can really do. And he was talking about this back in 2014. It's 2022. It's 8 years. Wow. We are old. That's 8 years ago. I was in sophomore year, 2014. I was in sophomore year, 2014. We were reading Julius Caesar. It's an overrated book. It's not that good of a book. But 8 years ago, that's what they were doing. So you think about 8 years later, how the technology has fundamentally changed, increased, gotten better. They have the best talent in the world. They've launched all these partnerships. So just really interesting to sort of see how Palantir potentially stopped a terrorist attack back in 2014, and how the technology has only gotten exponentially better as AI, machine learning, has also gotten exponentially better over time as well. So nice little clip by Peter Thiel. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys have any other clips by Peter Thiel that you think are worth reacting to or worth understanding, just to get a better insight into the company for Palantir. And yeah, let me know in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. Looking forward to reading them. My name is Mitt. I'll see you in the next one.